Hey everybody, Moarhammer here. I've got another battle report for you, and this is a pretty special one, as I'm sure you've no doubt figured out by now. This is not a Nurgle battle report. This is the first time I'm using a Khorne army. I do apologise, it's not totally finished painting yet, but I was really dying to get it on the table, and I flat out haven't had much time to get some painting done recently, so I figured I'll just throw it out there and see what happens. And it's a pretty good one. We're playing 20 pools of Clash Comp. And we're playing one of the new missions from that pack called Capture the Flag. And I'll run through that right after the army breakdown. And it's a bit of a, like I said, not all the models are painted, so the stuff in the army breakdown is not all there, but I'll explain what's not there in a second. So, here is a picture of deployment, and on my side, starting on the far left, I've got a unit of 10 Skull Reapers, and they're all armed with demon blades. Just behind them is a Skull Grinder, and just to the right of them is a Exalted Deathbringer. Then I've got a big unit of 20 Bloodletters, and at the front of them is a Herald of Khorne. Behind them, just to look on right, behind them I've got a Blood Stoker, that's the guy with a whip. And to the right of them, there's a unit of 10 Fleshhounds, behind which is a Bloodthirster and a Blood Secretor. Then I've got another unit of 10 Skull Reapers, and these guys have Gore Slick Blades rather than Demon Blades. And behind them is another Skull Grinder. And then on the right of them, I've got a unit of 20 Chaos Marauders with Mark Khorne. They may look like Beastmen, but they're Marauders. Trust me, I asked them. Then on his side, starting on the far left again, he's got a unit of 3 Necropolis Knights. And then in that forest thing, he's got a Lich Priest standing. Then a unit of 30 Skeleton Archers, behind which is a Tomb King and 3 Spirit Hosts. And possibly a Necromancer behind there as well. Then he's got another unit of 3 Necropolis Knights. And then behind that hill on the right-hand side, he's got another Necromancer. And then just the other side of the hill, he's got a Mourngul and 5 Skeleton Horse people. So the Mourngul is a Forge World Monstrous Arcanum thingy, which I'd never fought before, and I hope to never fight again, but we'll get into that. So, in terms of the mission we're playing, you'll notice that 3 of my units have little blue counters, so both the unit of Skull Reapers and the unit of Bloodletters, and that they are carrying a flag, quote-unquote, and the idea is you have to get those units into his deployment zone at the end of the game, 5th battle round. If he destroys them, then I can't do that, and he's also got to try and stop him. He's got the same thing. He's got 3 units with the tokens. He's got both units of Necropolis Knights and his unit of Skeleton Horse Archers on the right-hand flank there. So that's what he's got. There are also secondary objectives. So there's Assassinate, which I had to get his Mourngul, and he has to get my Blood Secretor. There's Blunt, which is to kill a unit. I've got to get one of his units of Necropolis Knights, I think the left-hand unit. He's got to get my central unit of Skull Reapers. And there's a couple of other ones like Capture a Terrain Piece, get into the unit's deployment zone, and kill at least 10 pool choices of your opponent's army. They are the 5 secondary objectives which determine who wins the game. So, without any further ado, we go into the first turn. He did finish deploying first, and he decides he wants to go first as well. So this is exactly what he does. He basically just pushes forward with everything, largely as fast as he can go, with the exception of the Necropolis Knights. He puts the Tomb King's command ability on the Skeleton Warriors, and he also sacrifices a couple of models to the damned terrain, which gives him +1 to hit. So these guys are actually now hitting on 3s, so it's pretty nasty. So they were just about in range of my Fleshhounds. So in the shooting phase, they all take aim. Almost all. I think there was sort of a couple out, but nevertheless, didn't make any difference. Shoots with Fleshhounds and bam, just deletes all 10 of them, which was exciting, I'll say the least. Turns out they're pretty nasty and they need to go away fast. I will say that I guess this was partially down to me having 23 saves to make and failing 20 of them, but that's really neither here nor there. So, he also does some shooting with his horse archers, ending up killing 2 marauders, no big deal. But that is the end of the shooting phase, so without any further thing, we go into my turn. And I put in motion some plans. I use the Bloodthirster's command ability on the Bloodletters. I use the Bloodstoker's whip on the Bloodletters. It's kind of a common thing, I think, these days. The Bloodsecrator plants his banner, just because I need to try and get those extra attacks on the Bloodletters. And that's just about all my hero phase. So my movement, I basically just push everything forward. My Bloodletters end up running 6. They can run and charge, and they get +4 to it, so they just hammer forward like 16 inches. And they're 15 or 16, they're right in front of the skull, whereas there's no way I can fail that charge, so that's great. Other than that, I kind of line up my using of Skull Reapers opposing the Necropolis Knights, because I feel like that's actually quite a good matchup for them. So that's my plan. And my Marauders on the right hand side, I was just hoping they could sort of keep up the Morngul, hold them up, the Morngul and the Harbingers. Oh, he did summon Harbingers. I forgot to mention that. Probably a good thing to have mentioned now. So all of my shooting comes from my Bloodthirster, which is out of range. So you go into the shooting phase, the charge phase, sorry. And the only charge that happens is my Bloodletters slam straight to the front of the Skeleton Warriors. And I was quite looking forward to this, because, well, they're squishy. And it's the only combat though, so I go with them first, and boom. It felt pretty good after he deleted my Flesh Hounds to just annihilate the entire unit of Skeleton Warriors. There were like 2 or 3 left, but they disappeared from Battle Shock in a second, so which is fantastic. Quite happy about that, so yay. So, we go into the initiative roll-off, and he does win it, which is not too bad. I can live with that. He puts the command ability on the Necropolis Knights on the right-hand side. Everything else kind of just moves around in preparation to charge things. His Spirit Host and Tomb King in the centre there. He does cast a couple of spells. I think he puts Mystic Shield on the Necropolis Knights on the right-hand side. He may have put an Arcane Bolt into the Bloodletters just to get rid of 1, so I'm not getting the +1 to hit for having 20. But other than that, not a whole lot happens. In his shooting phase, there's very little left. He's only got his Skeleton Horse Archers, which I think maybe pling 1 Marauder off. If anything, I can't remember. Nothing of note. So we go straight into the charge phase. These Knights slam into the Skull Reapers here. And the Spirit Hosts and Tomb Kings slam into the Bloodletters here. And then the Necropolis Knights over here go into these Skull Reapers. And these poor Marauders get assaulted by the Harbingers and the Morngul. So yeah, they were having a great time of it. So this is the one he tells to go with first. He ends up killing a Skull Reaper and putting 2 wounds onto another. And I believe that one does actually bounce back and cause a wound to him, which is wonderful. Then I pile in around here with my Skull Reapers against these Necropolis Knights. And I managed to smash apart 1 and put 4 wounds onto another, which is pretty nice going. I was quite happy about that. Then he attacks with his Tomb King. Doesn't do very well, only manages to kill a single Bloodletter, but I was A-okay with that. So I attack with my Bloodletters back before his Spirit Hosts get a chance to go. I put 3 wounds onto the Tomb King, and I take down a base of Spirit Hosts. And over here he attacks with his Harbingers and is able to murder 8, I think. Yep, 8 of the Marauders, which is lovely of him. Then I pile in over here with my Exalted Deathbringer. And I managed to do absolutely nothing, which is about what I'd expect. So he attacks with his Morngul over here and is able to kill another 8 of them. So they are dying fast and loose. So then I pile in over here with my Skull Reapers, and I'm able to hack apart another one and put 4 wounds onto another. So yeah, these guys are doing pretty well. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this matchup. I'm pretty sure I can win these combats. And then he attacks with his Necropolis Knights over here, killing a Skull Reaper again and putting 2 wounds into another. And I think this doesn't bounce back this time. I think they don't do another one back to him. So then I pile in with my Marauders against the Mongol, and surprise, surprise, I do nothing because I'm at -2 to hit because he's scary. And then over here, his Spirit Host attack can do pretty well. They kill 5 Bloodletters total, and this is all. I think this is all on mortal wounds as well, so he does roll pretty well. But that's fine. So we go into my turn, and I decide I need to do something about the Mongol. So I whip my Bloodthirster. He uses the command ability on himself, and he flies straight at the Mongol, ready to take it down. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of movement. The Bloodstoker kind of runs after the Bloodthirster, and the Herald of Khorne goes up towards the Bloodletters to help out in that combat there. Other than that, everything's pretty much stuck in combat. So we go into the charge phase. There's no shooting because my Bloodthirster ran. Over here, my Skullgrinder charged into the side of the Necropolis Knights. Over here, my Herald of Khorne managed to make it into the Tomb King. And over here, my other Skullgrinder makes it to the side of these Necropolis Knights. And over here, the Bloodthirster makes it into the Mongol. And we were going to have a nice Mongol on Bloodthirster showdown here, which turned out to be possibly the first mistake of this game. So, I do attack my Bloodthirster first because I don't want him hitting me nastily first. And I roll absolutely cack. I only put 2 wounds on him. I've got 7. I was just in range of the Blood Secretor, so I had 7 attacks. I hit with 2, but 2 wounds. He does fail both his saves, but then I rolled double 1 for the damage, so I only put 2 wounds on him, which was not ideal. So then he attacks with his Necropolis Knights over here, but isn't able to do anything. So I pile on my Skull Reapers over here, and I was able to smash apart another one and put 3 wounds onto that last remaining Necropolis Knight. Then he attacks with his Tomb King, and managed to murder a lot better than last time. He just killed 5 Bloodletters, which is a bit harsh. I was hoping not to lose these guys, but oh well. So I attack with my Herald of Khorne, and I'm able to smash apart the Tomb King with the help of... So when the Herald of Khorne attacks, he gets to... he then allows any Bloodletter unit within 8 inches to pile in immediately and attack. So the Herald of Khorne attacks, does 2 more wounds to the Tomb King, and then the Bloodletters attack, do the last wound to the Tomb King, and then the Curse kills 3 of them. So there was that, but that is general out of the way, so I'm quite happy about that. So then he attacks with his Necropolis Knight over here. He decides to go for the Skullgrinder rather than the unit because it's not going to hurt him back. And he puts 4 wounds onto him. He's not dead, and that's all I care about. And when the Skullgrinder starts to swing back, he just smashes that Necropolis Knight straight out the sand, which is fantastic. So that is one of his flag-wielding units down. I was very happy about that. So then he attacks with his Spirit Hosts and is able to kill both remaining Bloodletters. That's units out of the way, but that's not too bad. Unfortunately, that is a flag-wielding unit, so we're now 1-1 on killing those units. So then I partner with these Skull Reapers, attack him, and just obliterate him. Didn't even need the Skullgrinder there, or the Exalted Deathbringer. They just get pretty much annihilated, which is fantastic. So then he attacks back with his Mongol against the Bloodthirster. Does 6 wounds. That's fine. I'd rather not lose any. I was hoping to do much better on the assault, to be honest, but hey ho. And so we go into the initiative roll-off, and I managed to win it, which is not a terrible time to win it, but I do make probably the major mistake of this game in this turn, but I'll get to that in a second. So my Skull Reapers on the right-hand side kind of up around that building. On the left-hand side, I just kind of move them over as far as possible towards the Spirit Hosts. In the meantime, my Skullgrinder and Exalted Deathbringer kind of run to the back of the board to try and kill that Lich Priest that's sitting there. Other than that, not a whole lot of movement. My Blood Secretor does pick up his banner and run towards the Bloodthirster combat, just so I can hopefully then plant it next turn and start getting the bonus attacks. I want to get a few more bonuses within better range. So, in the charge phase, my Skull Reapers managed to make a long bomb charge into the Spear Hosts, which is fantastic. And these Skull Reapers managed to make a bit of a long charge into these Harbingers. And it's here. This was the big mistake. He says, "I'll get to why in a minute." But yeah, that was not good. I did use the Hellfire Breath and Bloodthirst in the shooting phase. I plink a wound off the Mongol, which is okay. It's here that I actually realise I shouldn't have charged my Bloodthirster because he's got a 3-up save that ignores Rend. I thought it was a 4-up save. It turns out a 3-up save ignoring Rend is a lot better. And I was just going to really struggle to get through it. You need volume of attacks rather than quality of attacks against this thing, I think. So, having me a bit concerned, but I'm going to keep going anyway. So I do attack with my Bloodthirster first, just so I'm trying to get those wounds down. I didn't do too badly this time. I put 3 wounds onto it, which is a lot better than I have been doing. So he's now down to 4 wounds left, which is not bad. Then he piles in with his Harbingers and attacks, and is able to kill 2 of them. He does take a wound back for his trouble, but that's pretty good. Then I attack with my Skull Grinder to try and take that Mongol down. Unfortunately, he does pass all his saves, so nothing happens. Then he attacks with his Spirit Hosts and is able to kill a single Skull Reaper. He does take a wound back for his trouble again, which is nice. So then I pile with my Skull Reapers against the Harbinger, and I'm able to hack one apart and put 3 wounds onto another, which is not bad at all. Unfortunately, then he turns around with his Mongol and attacks my Skull Reapers and kills 2 of them. And in doing so, he actually regenerates 1 or 2 wounds, which is the major problem I've got here. I didn't realise that, well, I did realise, but I didn't kind of click, that as long as he kills models, he immediately regenerates wounds. So there was that, which wasn't great. But hey-ho. But also this is a flag carrying unit, which I've just lost 4 of, so what I really should have done with these guys is just run them away from this combat to the backboard edge to go for that primary objective. I feel like my Bloodthirster can at least tie up the Mongol for the rest of the game, and if the Harbinger wanted to come and hunt them down, he could, and he'd lose. It's the Mongol leaning back and sort of scratching these guys off that's going to be the main issue here. So I attack with my Skull Reapers over here, kill a Spirit Host, yay. So we go into his turn. There's very little left on the board. He casts a couple of spells. He puts Mystic Shield on his wizards that are out of range of anything else. He casts an Arcane Bolt at the Skull Reapers and puts a wound or 2 on one. Other than that, not a whole lot happens. His Skeleton Horsemen, they're not in the picture, sorry, they just ran basically to the far backboard edge, right in the corner, so they've got a flag, so they're kind of scoring that now. Over here, we go into the combat phase. He attacks with his Harbinger first and is able to kill another 2 Skull Reapers. Unfortunately, none of these those bounce wounds onto him. So I attack with my Bloodthirster and I'm able to put another wound, a single wound onto him. So he's back down to he's on 6 still. He regenerated 1 wound last turn, and now he lost another wound. So things not going down fast. And then his Mongol attacks back and is able to kill another 2 Skull Reapers. And again, he regenerates 1 or 2 of those wounds, which isn't great. Then his Spirit Host attacks, kills Skull Reaper, and I think takes a wound back for his trouble, which is nice. And then just gets deleted because these guys are angry. So that's pretty cool. So we go to the initiative roll-off, and he wins it this time, which again, it's late in the game to really make a difference, but that Blood Secretor that picked up his banner is now it's gone sort of 3 combat phases without getting that bonus attack, which is kind of not what I wanted. But hey ho, it's not too bad. So he's got nothing else. Again, he casts Mystic Shield on his wizards again. He casts an Arcane Bolt. I think my Herald of Khorne plinks a wound or 2 off. But other than that, we go straight to the combat phase, and he attacks with his Mongol first, and it was rough. He had gets 5 attacks. He hit with all of them. We had 2 6s, which generate extra attacks. We had 7 hits, 5 wounds, and I've got 6 up save against them. And they do 2 damage each. So not really a whole lot I could do here. Bloodthirster dies. That's my general down, and that's sad. So that's a loss in that Moarhammer Bloodthirster fight, but yeah, probably it might have gone differently if I hadn't thrown those Skull Reapers in and allowed them to regenerate those wounds. So that was possibly a mistake, but hey ho. So I attack with my Skull Reaper next, and I'm able to not do a single thing, which is what it is. And then his Harbinger quite easily just slaps him down and kills him. And when the Skull Grinder attacks, I actually I get 2 hits, 2 wounds, and he passes both of his saves, which is really sad because if he failed both of them, he would have died. And he's passed quite a lot of saves in the past couple of turns, so that was quite interesting. So other than that, my most of my stuff kind of tries to run away. So my Bloodstoker runs away from the Moarhammer. My Skull Reapers run up to try and charge that Lich Priest, and so does everything else in that corner. Unfortunately, I actually managed to do that. I get a really long charge. I rolled a 10, I think. So I've been quite good at that this game, actually. It's been quite fun. So the slam into the Lich Priest here. I do attack with my Skull Grinder first. Isn't able to do anything. He attacks over here with his Lich Priest. Doesn't do anything. I annihilate him back, as you might expect. And then he kills me. Skull Grinder goes down to the Mongol. And so we go to his turn. Sorry, I forgot to take a picture of the sort of start. Basically what happens is his Mongol jumps up and murders the Bloodstoker. That's the only thing that happens in this turn, and this is a picture of that. So here you go. He kills the Bloodstoker, regenerates another wound. He's now down to 3 wounds. So there's not a whole lot that happens, really. So so there you go. That's the end of the game. What a brutal game this was. It really, really was a lot of bloodshed, which is very perfectly okay by me. The end result was we both had a single unit in a flag-bearing unit in the opponent's deployment zone, so it was a draw there. Neither of us captured our terrain piece. Both of us killed our blunt unit. Neither of us got our assassinate. Both of us killed over 10 pool choices, and both of us got a unit in the deployment zone. So it was actually a dead tie in the end, 10-10, which, considering that Moarhammer just killed about half my army, I was quite okay with that, actually. It could have been a lot worse. But like I said, it would have been actually a bit of an easy win if I hadn't charged those Skull Reapers out into those Harbingers. If I'd run them forward up towards the deployment zone instead, he may have had a much harder time dealing with them. Even if he chased after them with the Harbingers, they would have been able to take them without that Moarhammer there. And he didn't actually get his Moarhammer free of the Bloodthirst until 1 turn ago. So he would have just been flat out too far away to be able to do anything. So that's my thinking. In hindsight, I probably would have been better off sending my Bloodthirster out towards some of the other characters and his wizards to try and take them out, or even just sending him specifically off to try and get rid of those horse archers, because just having, once I was tied up with that Moarhammer, there was nothing I could do. I couldn't just ditch it and do anything about those horse archers, so that was also a bit of a problem. But, live and learn. I really enjoyed using my the Khorne. The Skull Reapers are really nasty and really fun to use. The Bloodthirster was great, just because how awesome the model is. It was a lot of fun. So you will see this army being used. Not exclusively. I'll probably do some Nurgle stuff as well. Maybe do some mixed armies, Nurgle and Khorne. But more than likely, I prefer just using Mono God. So yeah. But there you go. It's a draw for the maiden voyage of the flagship Khorne. So thank you very much for watching. If you've got any suggestions or tips for me to how to better use this Khorne army, please let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel or follow me on Twitter @MoreWarGames. So thanks very much, guys. I'll see you soon.